Well, down here in the south, and this is specifically zone 8, it is time to plant onions. A lot of people plant even in December. We've got a huge onion growing community down here, kind of like Vidalia has. We've got a festival and all that stuff for what we call noonday onions close to me. And around here, a lot of people plant in December, maybe mid-December, late December. I'm afraid if they did that this year, that hard freeze we got might have hurt some of the onions. I have learned from trial and error and having to replant sometimes that it's best to wait till January, February even. I'm getting started a little earlier this year because normally I might wait till February, but it is what it is. I found some onion sets. That's what these are. We call these sets, and basically just baby onions. Got the roots on them. Got a nice, most of them have a nice root system on it. I don't know whether you can see that or not. But we buy these in a bundle. Used to have about 50 in it. I doubt there's 50 in it now, and they're probably more expensive. I didn't even look to see how much they were. I just bought them. But I'll look and show it to you right now. But anyway, this is a bundle, a bundle of onion sets. And these are yellow Granix. This is the 1015 Aggie onion, sweet onion. It's what I like to plant. I've got a little tool that I use to plant that I made 2 or 3 years ago that I really like. And let me see if I can get this in the frame of the camera. Basically, it's just some little wedges here that are screwed into a rod. I use this for onions, just to dapple a little hole in there. I use it for onions. I use it for corn too when I'm planting in these raised beds, and that's what this is. These are tubs. I call it my tub garden, but it's basically raised beds. So what I do is mark this off. I put 10 onions to one of these tubs, and these tubs are 40 or 42 inches long and about 20 inches wide. And I put 2 rows, and I'll put a drip tape down the middle, but 2 rows, and this spaces the onions out about every 8 inches. That's center to center on this little rod here is about 8 inches. You could use some dowel rods instead of these. I would maybe round it just a little bit and drill holes in just a stick of some sort, a little rod, just a 1x1, 1x2, something like that. And just drill some holes in it about every 8 inches or so, however you want to plant, and then push the rod down and glue it in the holes, and then you've got a marker here. So let me get the camera a little closer, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. So we're going to mark, and I cut these off, the ends of them off, so they would fit within my tub here, within my raised bed. And I'll just go in here, and I'm going to leave the middles for drip irrigation. So I'll plant on either side of the drip, and I've just done this for a long time. Now this compost, I just put this compost on here, and it's got some sticks and stuff in it. It's not finished, but it's pretty decent. And I'll just push that down in there, make a nice little hole for the onion. Come over here, nice little hole for the onion. And then I'll take some of these little dudes out of the bundle, and I'll put them down in there. Now when I plant onions, and you have to pull them apart, just be careful pulling the roots apart on these sets. And when I plant onions, I only plant it about 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep. In looser soil like this is, you could go a little deeper than that probably. My theory, and it has worked well for me, my theory is that if you plant real deep, especially in hard soils, that soil is so constricting on that onion that it's not going to get big. You know, I'm not saying that's chiseled in concrete, but that's what I found. So I plant fairly shallow. These may be a little bit deeper than what I normally plant because this is just real loose. And I'm fixing to water it in, and I just put this compost on here from my compost pile. And again, the compost, I think I told you the other day, the compost is coming. This particular compost is coming from just wood chips that have been laid there for at least a year, maybe longer than that. But I'll plant down in there and then pinch it, cover it up. The best onions I've ever grown, and I have grown some good onions, were grown in these tubs, in this raised bed garden. And all I did was after I planted them in the soil, I just came in here with a layer of compost and just covered them up, kind of not side dressed them, just almost mulched them with maybe a 1-inch layer of compost. Just made some beautiful softball size onions. Sweet, sweet, sweet. So I'm gonna come in here and just dig a little fur through there before I put my drip tape down. And I'll put some only thing I've got, I think, is organic, the 543 organic fertilizer from Haas Tools. So I'm going to put that in there, and then I'll dig a little bit bigger trench than that. And this is one of the tubs the other day I showed you that had the fire ant mound right here. I mean, this was the first tub that I showed you that had big thing of fire ants. I used Advion, and that's what I recommend. Even though it's really a warm weather bait, I sprinkled a little bit of Advion around the tub. Probably got a little bit in the tub, but just around the tub mainly. This and about 4 other tubs here that had fire ant mounds in them, had fire ant beds in them, and they're gone. They're just gone. So there's one tub. I'm gonna plant a few more, and then I'm gonna come through here, like I say, fertilize, water them in with a hose, with a wand, and then later I'll put in my drip irrigation that will run across the tops of these tubs. But that's the key, in my opinion, to growing sweet onions is don't fertilize heavily with triple 13. Now Haas tells it a little bit different. They say you got to have the nitrogen stuff. I don't know. An onion grower around here told me nitrogen makes them hot. So I don't know. If you want sweet onions, I would try to find some other way, maybe compost like I've done in the past that worked great for me, or an organic. Like I say, some of this compost got sticks and stuff in it because it's not quite finished, but it's good enough. I think. We're gonna find out. I'm punching the hole deeper than I'm gonna plant because the compost is caving back in on top of it, and I'm just trying to get a decent sized hole here. About every 8 inches. You could probably go 6 if you're really going to water, you're really going to fertilize well. You could probably go 6. And again, if I was in hard ground, and I have before been, because my ground is hard, I would be planting these more shallow than I am right now. Maybe 1/2 inch. I wouldn't go more than 1/2 inch. On here, probably am going a little more than 1/2 inch because it's just so, the soil is just so pliable. I don't think there's a risk of you need to get it deep enough where the wind's not going to blow it over, and where, but not so deep to where it constricts, where the soil constricts it and binds the plant, and keeps your onion from getting big. That's my theory, and I'm sticking with it because I was told that by a huge onion grower in this area. And I'll come back in here, especially when it's wet, and pinch it real good. Because I do want that soil, especially since this is a little coarse, this compost is a little coarser than if it was potting mix or something like that. I want to make sure that onion gets good contact with the surrounding soil there. Again, come through here and fertilize, and put a drip tape in later, probably not right now, but put the drip tape in and keep those watered all winter. And but if I was you, and I'm not, but if I was, I'd make me a little doodad like that. That's just a handy little tool, and I think it'll serve you well for many years. Again, that's 2 or 3 years old, probably 3 years old at least. And I've planted a lot of stuff with it. It's not going anywhere as long as I don't step on it and break it. So onions, fertilize them. Compost is really good to fertilize with. I'm hoping this compost, even though this is not great compost, it's just straight from wood chips. It's not like it's got a lot of manure and stuff in it. Now what I did the other day, I showed you these tubs and showed you those mounds of fire ants in them. Came through here yesterday when I saw the fire ants were dead, and with a tractor, scooped up the compost, laid it out through here in all these tubs. Fill the tubs up to overflowing or right at overflowing. When I water them in a minute, I started watering before I planted, but I thought probably not a good idea. So I water them now. That'll seal those roots, seal that soil, hopefully around those roots, and it'll also kind of compact or allow that compost to kind of compact a little bit, and should make for a good looking stand of onions. So plant you some onions. If you're in the south, it's time, or they're getting close to time. You got maybe 2 or 3 weeks or a month left if you want to wait. But plant some onions, make you a little old stick. Those things come in handy. Real easy to make, come in handy. All right, I think that's about it. And we're gone.